zoning map, we're kind of on hold until we determine this, guys, these new boundaries and also the new classification. We're going to do that, so let's take a look at the sheet that I handed out, which I have scribbled. Joe and I kind of hurriedly worked through it one day when I was there last week. And this is going to be kind of lengthy because we have to notify all the landowners within this area that we want to change. We'll have to have a P&Z public hearing. The city will have to have 1 or 2 public hearings, all this kind of stuff. But I thought for ease, we could take this R3 and see if we can adapt it to what we wanted to say so that he's got someplace to start. What we're looking at is if some of those ag areas are going to be developed into housing, then we need to change them because the A1 calls for a minimum of 10 acres. But when we were talking about that, we were talking about people having to have wells and septic tanks and leach fields. Okay, taking a look at the piece of property that Brian was buying, Brian Menzer now, different Brian, there's 0.92 acres, I think there's someplace there, 0.92 acres there, and he doesn't need a well because city water runs past there and city gas, right? So the only thing he'd be looking at is putting in a septic tank, which half the people in town have, well, some of the people in town have anyway.
You would have an option to pump. Is that?
With a grinder pump or something?
Yeah. Yeah, you could actually pump.
Pump to the city?
Mm-hmm. We had the DOT pumping all the way to town.
From out there on the highway?
Mm-hmm. They pump from there clear to about just west of that.
Where there's no pump to
No,
it.
actually on the east side of that. Pardon?
That's when George Glaston did that.
They could pump up to Lozier and South 16.
Okay, so we're still looking at that particular area on the map that is A1. If in fact we're going to encourage development, which I would certainly think that we'd be looking at more than one area for this. Typically, when the highway comes through, we'll be looking at some changes. So we want to take that A1 and work through this. One of the things, for lack of anything better, we can't think of anything to call it other than urban transition. Can you think of a better word or term for it? Urban fringe? We're kind of, yeah. We thought urban transition might work because we are transitioning it to another use. So,
still city limits.
Right. So if we cross out, of course, where it says R3 multifamily residential and insert urban transition in there, then this district is intended to provide for a variety of residential areas. And I think you probably want to take out where public utilities and services are available because they aren't all available and probably won't be in those areas.
Well, some public.
I think if we just take that out, we're going to be better. So a variety of residential areas and to encourage a suitable living environment through the promotion of public health, safety, and welfare. I think the criteria can remain the same, but when we get to the table, that's where we want to make some changes. Now let's take a look at the permitted uses there. I'm assuming we want single-family detached dwellings. Do we want multi-family dwellings in these areas?
I
would say yes, duplexes.
A duplex.
Do you want apartments and so, I mean, do we want to say duplexes or do we want to say single family? You need to tell me what we need to put in here.
Well, our R1 is multi-family dwellings up to 4 units.
So is that what we want to put?
Up to what?
4 units.
Yeah. So we wouldn't have the high rise out there. Brookside.
Okay, family homes, home occupations, publicly owned and operated buildings and facilities, including libraries except repair facilities, publicly owned parks, playgrounds, and recreational areas except rec trails. I don't know why we would want to.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
I would include the trail.
Yeah.
Okay, let's just take out except rec
Okay.
trails, just take that out. Okay. Churches and accessory facilities probably aren't going to need cemeteries,
No.
so we could scratch that. Leaving the public utility and public service installations and facilities, including substations, and, because we might need that, okay? Bed and breakfast, we could leave that. I think we could take out healthcare facilities and nursing homes. I think we could take out hospitals and mental, dental, and chiropractic. We may want to leave golf courses because we don't know where we're going with this. Your permitted accessory uses, take a look at those. Once again, remember in our residential areas we have 40 by 40 foot buildings only.
Is that a 3-car garage?
Oh, that'd be more than that, three. Maybe more than.
Okay, temporary uses such as building for uses incidental to construction work which shall be removed upon completion or abandonment for work. Private recreational facilities, I don't know what they mean by that, but fences and walls. Yeah, satellite dish. Okay.
Good.
Satellite dish antennas, lampposts, flagpoles, and other yard fixtures, swimming pools, keeping up domestic animals, but not on a commercial basis, and objectionable to neighbors, so the keeping or raising of pigs, sheep, goats, cattle, fowl, or horses in this district is prohibited.
Yeah, I think so.
We need to identify commercial uses, commercial bases. Where is that?
Well,
There's
that
usually
means
too much
grading.
in there.
Recycling.
Pet shelters, including dog houses, cages, fences, and runs for pets, shall be considered accessory structures and shall be regulated as such. Is that what you want in there? Okay, now, special exceptions. Reduction in the minimum required side yard setbacks by up to 50% if the application is made. Applicant must show reasonable cause for such reduction and doing so will not cause harm to the adjacent property owners. Remember, these are the ones that go to the Board of Adjustment. Okay. Private garages and storage sheds larger than 40 by 40 in size or higher than 25.
No,
You would think
I'm
that's...
against that.
Anybody else?
As a special exception.
Yeah. You provide for it as a permitted use, but this would, if someone wanted to build an even bigger
Yeah,
one.
they'd have to show hardship or reason for this.
I think it should be
Well, then you
special,
want-
because if you want to buy 3 or 4 acres, you may want to have a big,
What you run into is a motor home or
yeah, 40 is not a very big building anymore.
Not anymore.
So you want to leave that in as an exception to go to the Board of Adjustment?
I would bet.
Depends on, you know, you guys, nobody's really thinking about development, but it certainly could occur. And I traveled all along Highway 20 east all the way to the Illinois border and saw all the housing developments and stuff out there. Now, there are not accessory buildings like this permitted in those housing developments, so.
That's what gets me, you know, we're talking pole buildings. Do we want a pole building in a residential area?
And see, a lot of communities
wouldn't.
don't allow those.
That's what I'm saying.
We do, and I'm not in agreement with
Yeah.
it.
So we actually do need to,
I think in both cases, I'm against.
I certainly think we need to go back and look at that in R1 and R2 too then. Now we're running into this in another community too, they don't allow residential.
Well, and I would think that if
commercials.
they want those big buildings, then they need some acreage somewhere.
Sure.
On the
And
city
then they need-
limits,
Then they
you
need
know?
that 10 acres.
Yeah.
and all
Right,
that, yeah.
right.
Nursery schools, I would think we could probably take that out too. Scratch that out, why that would be a,
That might be a home occupation.
That's,
Yeah.
I don't know where that's classified.
I didn't understand why it was in that place either.
But if somebody wants to do daycare.